Welcome to Brew Crime, the podcast where we talk crime, conspiracies, or whatever catches our attention. This is Mike, and my co-host, who is currently dying.
It's JT. I did inhale. This is JT. It's me. Hi, everybody.
Woo-hoo. Welcome back. So we're done with Quebec. There's some terrible people that we talked about. Now we're going to move on to some terrible people in the rock music industry.
It's so sad because I love rock and roll.
So do I. But I mean, hey, I love metal too, and there's some real trash in that industry. There's some real trash in, the boy band industry, but mostly on the producer side, and they're all over the place.
Let's be honest, there's trash pretty much everywhere. There's trash everywhere you look.
Absolutely. But this week, it's my turn to talk about trash.
Oh, yay. Air out that dirty laundry, Mike.
Exactly. So the title of my case is The Less Famous Manson Family Murder.
Oh boy.
Yes.
Oh boy.
So I actually ended up accidentally with two different pairings for this episode. I've picked one, but I'm going to mention the one that I didn't pick first. Just like my pairing from my Quebec episode, this is from Torchlight Brewing, and it's called On Tour Crimson Ale. And it's hilarious because it looks like almost like He-Man's playing a guitar.
It sure does. If you guys, I know people in the States and probably different parts of Canada can't get this beer.
Yeah.
But you have to look up Torchlight Brewing in Vancouver. Is it Vancouver?
No, Nelson, BC.
Nelson. Okay, in Nelson, BC, and you have to look at their you have to look at their labels because they're literally one of a kind.
Yeah,
I've never seen labels like this ever.
Super nerd
Torchlight,
awesome.
Well done. The nerd in me wants to roll a crit 20 just for you.
Exactly. But I've just had a bunch of darker beers and stuff, amber ales and darker beers, so I decided I wanted to go with my other pairing, which was the Mind Haze IPA from Firestone Walker out of California. It's a 6.2% IPA.
Purple haze all in my brain.
Yep. And I mean, a Mind Haze makes sense because how many musicians are in a friggin' haze when they're on stage or making music? Right?
I'm amazed that they can still make music in that haze that they're in.
Oh, sometimes. I know. So this is a pretty cloudy beer for a bigger brewery. Like Firestone Walker's big, and it's got a pretty nice haze on it. Nice white fluffy head. It smells like really tropical, almost like tropical fruit candies.
Ooh, interesting. That's either good or bad.
Oh no, and I had a can of this actually the other night. It's super nice. It's very tropical fruit forward, like pineapple and that kind of stuff, but not super sweet. Like it tastes like it's going to be sweet, and then it isn't.
Yeah.
But, very little bitterness, which you expect from sort of a hazy IPA. It's really easy drinking. It's hard to believe it's 6.2%. It tastes like it could be 4.
Oh, that sounds dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a huge can. Like, this isn't a 16-ounce can. This is what is it? 1 pint, 3.2 ounce. So almost 20-ounce can.
Good grief. Yeah, that's a good size can.
Yeah.
If I had to rank cans on the sizes, that's a good, that's a whole nother inch, Mike.
You're not wrong. Oh, Jesus.
Oh, beer.
Yes. Well, I guess we'll have to get into this fuckhead now.
Oh, boy.
Yep. So, Robert Kenneth Beausoleil, I think that's how you pronounce it, known as Bobby, was the first of 5 children to Kenneth Beausoleil and Helen Maddox, born on November 6, 1947.
Oh, that was a good year.
He was born in Santa Barbara, California, to a very Catholic family.
All right. This is going south.
Bobby would show a proficiency for music at a very young age and would even teach himself to play guitar.
Good for him.
Yeah, and this is like pre-YouTube learning how to play a guitar, right? This is having to teach yourself, actually teach yourself. While he was very talented with music, he was also a real pain in the ass, always getting into trouble.
Yeah. of
Sounds like a
course,
musician, right?
Bobby. Dang it, Bobby. There's going to be a couple of those. I think
Yeah.
we need to record that as a sound pad.
At the age of 15, he would be sent off to a boarding school named Los Prestos Boys Camp for 10 months because not only did he run away from home, but he was also well known for doing pranks on people.
Uh, can I just say that anything that's named boys camp doesn't sound like it's gonna be a great time.
It's Los Prestos.
Really not a good time.
Yes.
Oh boy.
I would have to assume that these were not just little pranks either to end up at a boarding school.
Yeah. No.
At age 16, he would have an affair with his cousin's wife, and his cousin would leave the family.
What, Bobby? Dang it, Bobby! Stop sleeping with your sister.
No. Cousin's wife, so not sister.
Oh, because well, it's hard to say in Hank Hill's voice. So,
Yeah, it's true. This would push him to get a job and start supporting his new partner and her child from his cousin's marriage.
This is buck wild already, Mike.
I know, right?
Buck wild.
His grandmother would die, and this would lead him to taking off for Los Angeles. I guess he was close with her.
As one does.
Bobby would now get into the music world, as in 1965, he would join Grassroots, a band formed by Arthur Lee.
All right.
Later, this band would change its name to Love and See Success.
Mm-hmm.
Band was named Love, and they would
Yes.
see some success. Yes. Sorry.
Yes. Which
In
they would love.
1966, yes. 1966 would see him form a band called Orchestra, but O-R-K, Orchestra.
Oh, gee. Okay.
Where again, band members would later see fame.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby would even be a backup singer for the very first Frank Zappa record.
Holy shit. All right.
Yeah,
Bobby.
right?
Dude, can you imagine moving to LA in the mid 60s? Oh my God.
All the
Just
drugs, all the parties. Yeah.
all the things. Literally all this is pre like hair metal. This is this is Doors time, right? I think.
Yeah. 60s, mid 60s. Yeah.
Man. God.
Sometime later, he would decide he didn't like Los Angeles and he would end up in San Francisco.
Traitor. Although San Fran's cool too.
Yeah. In 1967, his band Orchestra would break up, but he would now meet a filmmaker, Kenneth Anger, who was working on a film named Lucifer Rising, and he would hire Bobby to play Lucifer in the film.
Oh man. All right, Bobby. Congrats, Bobby. You got a roll, Bobby.
He would work on the score for the film, all while playing in the band Magic Powerhouse of Oz. That's a pretty cool name.
That's a really awesome name, but that's a really big shirt. That's a long name
True.
to put on anything.
Before much of Lucifer Rising was filmed, Bobby and Kenneth Anger would have a falling out. This was a big deal as Bobby was living with him at the time.
Oh, good God. Awkward.
Yeah. So the movie would die at this point, and Bobby would pick up roots and head back to Los Angeles.
Okay.
Back in Los Angeles, he would end up in a movie, though. This movie was called Ramrodder and was a softcore porn movie and would also star Catherine Sher, one of the Manson family.
Looks like Bobby got a hobby. It was a little sloppy.
I guess Lucifer was rising.
Eventually, he got there.
He
got
did.
there. It required LA, apparently, which you all right.
Yeah. So Bobby Beausoleil was now living in Gary Hinman's Topeka Canyon home.
Okay.
It was living with Gary Hinman where Bobby would run into Charles Manson at a house party, and Manson and his ladies would be really impressed with Bobby's musical talent.
Huh. Imagine this.
Yeah. This meeting would lead to Bobby hanging out at the Spawn movie ranch where he would enjoy the life of sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Oh, minus the rock and roll, add an acoustic guitar and a creep.
Yes. Let's move over to Gary Hinman for a bit now. Gary was born on Christmas Eve, 1934 in Colorado. He was a well-studied man going to the University of California and graduating with a degree in chemistry and PhD in sociology.
Wow.
Yes.
Nice.
He was also musically talented and known as a kind-hearted man. He would buy a home in Topeka Canyon. Here he would have an open door policy for any of his friends.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. If a friend found themselves homeless, they could stay there with no end date specified. Just open doors.
That's a good friend.
Yeah, he really sounds like he was a good guy.
Yeah.
Gary would work at a music shop where he would teach bagpipes, drums, piano, and trombone.
Wait. Bagpipes? Was there
Yes.
a call for bagpipes in the 60s? I
guess so, yeah.
I don't remember anybody laying down a bagpipe track.
And I mean, hey, can you think of 3 or 4 instruments that parents would hate more than their kids learning bagpipes, drums, and trombone?
For sure. He was a philosophy major too. Let's remember this. It
Like
is
piano,
possible. I can't imagine 60s LA being on acid listening to the bagpipes. See,
Probably
it's funnier
a
now.
lot better though.
Well, yeah, that's true. Maybe. Yeah.
So he was a busy dude, to be sure, and somehow at the same time he would also have a mescaline factory in his basement.
Oh, Gary.
It is the 60s.
Gary.
Remember the time this was all filled with experimentation with drugs? Like, this is just the time, right?
Yeah.
So the year of 1969 would see Gary get into the Buddhist faith, as he would even plan a pilgrimage to Japan that would never happen.
Oh, man. That sucks.
Yeah. Now, of course, being into sex, drugs, and rock and roll, Gary would become friends with Charles Manson, and it was this friendship that would bring Bobby Beausoleil and Charles Manson together.
This just really shows you how desperate Charles Manson was for popularity, because he would literally shop his shit around, and he would talk to anybody that would give him the time of day.
Hell yeah.
I mean, but he was charismatic, you know, so
and, he was surprising. A pretty decent musician, like never great, but a pretty decent musician. And this guy had a lineup for drugs and liked to have parties, so it makes sense that Manson would end up there.
Yeah, I listened to his stuff before.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay. It's nothing to write home about. See, he'd kill me for saying that, but but it's good. It's fine.
And you know what? Like, if he didn't become a fucking crazy bastard, he probably could have honed it, and it might have actually been something. You never know.
Yeah, if he took his head out of his ass and put it, back in LA. Yeah,
sort of like Bobby.
Right. Exactly.
So Gary was the guy who introduced Charles Manson to Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys.
There it is.
Yep.
There it is. I was waiting for the connection.
Unfortunately for Gary, Charles Manson would become greedy and would decide Gary needed to pay up. Even though he's already given him drugs, probably. He's letting him come and play at his parties and
for sure.
Yada. There was talk of a possible bad batch of mescaline being sold to a biker gang that Manson was friends with, but this seems to be a lie.
Yeah.
What seems to have happened is that Manson thought Gary had a bunch of money in stocks and bonds on top of owning his own house and some cars.
Mm-hmm.
So Manson wanted to pull him into the family. Part of that would be to give up all of his possessions to the family.
Do you know what's really funny? Sounds a fuck ton like Scientology.
And every fucking cult. Yeah.
And every cult. You're correct. I happen to be in the Scientology mode.
Because of last podcast, right?
Yep, that's exactly why.
Me too.
And there's nothing better than Henry going like,
yeah.
It makes me chuckle.
Anyways. Yeah, there's no doubt that his blood pressure's up right now.
Oh, for
sure. Listen to their latest episode.
Oh yeah.
So he would not be okay with this plan, and this would sign a terrible end for Gary Hinman.
No, no.
The day was July 25th, 1969, and Bobby Beausoleil, Susan Atkins, and Mary Brunner would show up at Gary's home. They would try and force Gary to join the family, but he was not having it. He would be held for 3 full days.
Not cool, man. Not
No.
cool.
Charles Manson and Bruce Davis would show up during the 3 days, where Manson would brandish a sword and slash Gary's face and ear.
Are we talking like a knight sword or like a samurai sword?
I don't really know. It didn't say. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter.
I would almost guess
ridiculous.
Like, maybe the sword was one of Hinman's, and because he was sort of into Buddhism and wanted to go to Japan, maybe it was a Japanese style sword. Just guessing. I have no idea.
Oh, it's totally like Charles Manson to take a weapon that's somebody else's and then kill somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, to kill that person. Yeah.
So Gary was a pacifist and would just ask Manson to leave with his followers. Even after that.
Jesus.
Susan Atkins would stitch up his face during the ordeal, but after Manson and Davis left, and the 3 days were up, Bobby would stab Gary 2 times, ending his 3 days of torture.
Oh my gosh.
July 27th would have the 3 hold a pillow over Gary's head to try and finish him off after the stabbings.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Gary would die on the floor, still holding his Buddhist prayer beads.
Ugh.
Yeah. Because Manson wanted to help start a race war, helter skelter, Bobby would write "Political Piggy" and make a paw print on the wall in Gary's blood. The idea was to make the authorities think this was done by the Black Panthers.
Of course.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really interesting because Charles Manson really didn't need to help that along. That was just a few years out. I mean, it was already happening, but it was big time a few years out. Like,
it just took a little
back. Could have just chilled on his ranch.
In.
Yeah.
So Bobby would now flee. There is a very good chance that the Tate LaBianca murders that happened between August 8th and 10th, 1969, were trying to cover up the real reason for the murder of Gary Hinman.
Yeah.
Trying to make it look like the murderers were still on the loose and some kind of radical Black Panther or something. At least this is the speculation I read.
Yeah. I mean, it's a hell of an alibi.
Yeah. It's funny, too, because I actually hadn't heard about this case. You hear all about the Tate LaBianca murders.
I knew that there was one outside of that. Maybe 2. But obviously, it's been a while since I read up on Charlie.
Yeah, same here. Bobby and the 2 women would flee the home after the murder. Susan Atkins would be at the Tate murders. Also, as a note, Bobby would get away for a time, but on August 6, 1969, he would be asleep in his car on the side of the highway between Atascadero and St. Luis Obispo, and cops would catch him.
All right.
There would end up having to be 2 different trials, but he would be sentenced to death on April 18th, 1970 at the age of 22.
Man.
During the trial, Mary Brunner would end up with legal immunity as she played a key witness that put Bobby Beausoleil away. Just immunity. That's nuts.
That is.
In 1972, a Supreme Court of California ruling would overturn all death penalty cases as unconstitutional.
Okay.
His sentence was then commuted to life in prison.
All right.
When Bobby was called to the stand for the Manson trial, he was quoted as saying, "I'm at war with everyone in this courtroom. It's nothing personal, but the world has been gaddling at my brothers and sisters, and as long as they are ripping off our world, our friends, and our children, you better pray I never get out."
Wow.
Yes.
I don't think you're getting out, Bobby.
He would end up being stabbed by other inmates in prison on April 15th, 1982. And this is when his bond with the Manson family would finally start to falter.
Yeah.
He would continue to make music while in prison and even married a woman well behind bars and was able to be moved to a prison in Oregon to be closer to her.
All right. First off, why would they let that happen? But second, men and ladies who are interested in prisoners, especially for these heinous crimes,
Yeah.
stop. Just stop it. And believe me, in my case, let me just preview briefly. That is an issue.
Yes. So. He would end up being sent back to California, though, when his wife died, and he acted out and was cited for an infraction, as they put it.
All right.
Yep. He would be put up for parole many times, but would be denied every time until January 3rd, 2019, when they would actually recommend that he would be set free.
What?
Unfortunately for Bobby, the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, would deny his bail regardless.
That's cool. Good idea.
Yeah. The parole board has changed their mind, and as recently as January 2022, he has been denied parole again.
I mean, that's kind of what happened to Manson. He was in prison for so long, and he said, "Don't let me out," and then they let him out, and then the murders happened. So it's like, don't do this with Bobby.
Exactly. So interestingly enough, if you remember me mentioning Bobby being cast as Lucifer in a movie named Lucifer Rising in 1967, it would end up being made in 1979, and Bobby Beausoleil and his prison band, the Freedom Orchestra, would be able to score the soundtrack for the movie.
And this was before they were prevented from making any money, wasn't it?
I don't even know if they made any money on this, but they still scored it.
But
the movie would premiere in New York in 1980. Bobby has been able to release 9 studio albums, 4 compilations, and 5 singles, all while in prison.
All right. Come on. Don't let him around any chords. Like, what is going on?
Let me see here. Let me, where's, I'm going to see if I can quickly find something of his.
Can you imagine him walking around just being like, "Hey, where's my axe?" And the police are like, "What the hell are you talking about?" He's like, "Just my guitar."
Exactly. Good thing he wasn't into metal, right?
Oh God, this would be a whole nother story, friend.
Because then it would be an axe, right?
Yeah. Especially Viking metal. It'd literally be an axe. Or if he had a replica Gene Simmons axe bass.
Well, let's try this. I don't know. Oh, here's the Lucifer Rising.
All right. Who gave him synthesizers?
Recorded in prison, yep.
This reeks of 70s.
Sure does. Yeah.
You know what it sounds like?
Yeah, so that one doesn't have any vocals or anything.
You know what it sounds like, though? It sounds a lot like Jesus Christ Superstar, the musical. It has the same feel to it. If you remove some of the synth, and you increase the electric guitar, you've got Jesus Christ Superstar.
That's funny.
Here,
let's try this one too. We'll do a little quick grab of this. This one's called Island Girl. Let's just skip ahead.
How'd they get him close enough to a beach?
I don't know. So he probably wouldn't have become as popular as Charles Manson could have if he didn't get involved with all the killing. But
no.
Yes. He still released a lot of music somehow.
And yet still I say, dang it, Bobby.
So that's the case of Bobby Beausoleil and the murder of Gary Hinman.
That's quite a story. And it weaves in with a whole bunch of other stuff that people read regularly, and yet we never really hear about this.
Yeah, no, I hadn't heard of any of that. It's nuts.
Yeah. It's not like we're not drowning in true crime.
It's true, yeah.
It's amazing that. Well, no, what I'm saying is it's amazing we haven't heard it.
Or it's just there's so much of it that maybe you even heard about it, just forgot, because the world's a pretty fucked up place. And it always has been.
Listen, stop being fucked up, world.
Yeah,
I'm
please,
not saying
please.
be perfect, but stop being fucked up.
Just less fucked up, please.
Yeah, just less fucked up. Just less fucked up. You know what's less fucked up? Our Patreon. Our Patreon's less fucked up. Or more so, depending on if you like us or not. But you can definitely check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/brewcrime. We're doing videos, we're doing conversations, we're doing stuff like that. You also get our episodes early, ad-free, as well as a bonus Patreon episode every month. We've recently been going through a lot of conspiracy theories, so there's a good chunk of backlog on that, including David Icke, and I think some Scientology. No,
we probably will get there one day.
Definitely how to join the Proud Boys.
Yeah. How not to
that's
join the Proud Boys, because those guys
right.
are fucked.
It's a fucking nightmare show, but I found one of their inside documents. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, head over to our Patreon and you can subscribe, and we would appreciate it. And we will use that.
Yeah. Oh, and you also get early ad-free access to our brewery episodes as well.
Oh, yes.
With our good friend Paige.
Yes. And of course, as usual, and I know, well, no, I'll let you read off those patrons.
All right. Shout out to our Patreon supporters: Jay is Rad, True Crime Nana, 3 Beers In Podcast, and The Phase of Our Lives.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Find us at Brew Crime on all the things.
Absolutely. Peace. All cases in Brew Crime are written by Mike and JT or a writer we credit on the episode, and sources are put into our show notes for each episode. We always want to give credit to the people that research the cases we talk about. Check out our store at tpublic.com/stores/brew-crime-podcast, where you can purchase gear like t-shirts, phone cases, stickers, pillows, and all kinds of other cool stuff. Brew Crime's intro was created by Mike using Creative Commons Attribution licensed audio from purple-planet.com, soundbible.com, and freesoundeffects.com. Logo designed by Ben Greenberg. Thanks for listening to this episode of Brew Crime Podcast.
Hi, this is Edward October for OctoberPodVHS.com, here to tell you what people are saying about our true crime podcast. A thread store in Arizona says, too much dribble and slang. These ladies obviously enjoy their own humor and sound high. Hey, at least they called you ladies. Benny from Idaho says, your topics are so appealing, but a 3-person pod is difficult enough to follow without banter? Our true crime podcast only has 2 people? Wait. Where's the other 100 5-star reviews? Can somebody give me the 5-star reviews? Okay, here we go. Much better. Luscious Lee says, stand up. 5 stars. You girls are funny AF. I especially love the me and Mrs. Jones rendition you sneak into the recording. Cherry G107 says, I struggle finding a new podcast, and so far, I've been hooked to you guys' podcast. Keep up the good work. Thumbs up, smiley face. Our true crime podcast, 2 girls, 1 story, and lots of bad renditions of songs you love. Available on your favorite podcatcher. Go binge it today.
Bobby would even be... This meeting would lead to Bobby hanging out at the... what the hell is the movie ranch called again? I think I spelled it wrong. It's like Spawn's Movie Ranch? That's not it.
No, hold on.
Shoot, one's I got it.
Spawn Ranch.
Spawn Movie Ranch. Okay.
Yeah.
It is that.
SPAHN Spawn. Yeah.
Okay. Trying to make it look like there were murderers. There would end up there would have to end up, it's nothing personal, but the world has been what is this? Okay, this quote is fucked up.
I'm sure you can find it again pretty quick.
One sec, let me see if I can, because something's wrong with that quote.
That's fascinating, that dude.
It's just, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Oh no, it must be wrong on the source, whatever. All right. He would end up being sent back to the or sending. What's his name again?
Gary Hinson. True Crime Nana.
Oops, wrong button again. I wanted